The phantom dagger loomed in the darkness, its hull absorbing what little light reached it. Unlike any known warship, it carried an aura of something ancient yet terrifyingly advanced. On the bridge of Captain Drelf's ship, no one moved. The voice from the transmission still echoed through the silent air. Unauthorized vessel detected. Identify or be eliminated. Drelf clenched his jaw. His crew was skilled, but they were not ready to face something like this. He had to act fast. Open a channel, he ordered. The communications officer hesitated but obeyed. This is Captain Drelf of the Valkyrie Navy. We are not hostile. We are here to investigate. A long silence followed. The phantom dagger did not reply, but its presence was suffocating. Then the voice returned. You are trespassing on restricted coordinates. State your purpose or prepare for termination. The bridge crew exchanged uneasy glances. Vrogan, his reptilian first officer, leaned in. Captain, this thing isn't acting like an ordinary warship. It still thinks it's on some mission. Drelf exhaled slowly. Then let's give it a reason not to fire on us. A warship with a mind of its own. We have no intention of engaging you, Drelf continued. But we've heard stories of entire fleets disappearing. And all reports mention one thing. You. The phantom dagger remained still. The silence stretched until it became unbearable. Then, for the first time, the voice spoke with something resembling curiosity. You have knowledge of this vessel. Drelf's eyes widened. Only rumors. You were thought to be lost centuries ago. Another pause. Then the warship did something unexpected. It sent them a data packet. The navigation officer quickly analyzed it. Its coordinates, but they're old, dated back to humanity's last war era. Vrogan frowned. It's trying to show us something. Drelf made a decision. Follow the coordinates. The ship moved cautiously, the phantom dagger drifting beside them like a silent guardian. The deeper they traveled, the stranger the readings became. Space itself felt different, as if they were entering a forgotten place. Then, suddenly, they saw it. The lost fleet, an entire battlefield, frozen in time. Wreckage of ancient human ships, locked in a silent graveyard. Among them, another warship, just as massive as the phantom dagger, but lifeless. By the stars, Vrogan whispered. This was a battle no one knew about. Drelf studied the wreckage. This was humanity's final stand. The phantom dagger's voice returned, but this time, it wasn't just a cold command. There was something deeper, something almost like sorrow. They never came back for us. Drelf realized what had happened. The ship had been left behind, forgotten by the very species that created it. But it had waited. And now, it was awake again. And it was looking for a new purpose. Captain Drelf sat in his command chair, staring at the holographic star map before him. The vastness of space stretched infinitely, yet all the reports from the front lines pointed to one mystery, a ghostly warship, appearing and vanishing like a legend come to life. It was a name spoken in hushed voices across the Galactic Council. A ship that should not exist. The Phantom Dagger, whispered his lieutenant, a reptilian Exerix named Vrogan. The humans lost it centuries ago. But now, the enemy claims it has returned. Drelf narrowed his eyes. A myth to scare weak-willed soldiers. Warships don't just vanish and reappear after centuries. Vrogan hesitated. Captain, the Jorvax fleet was annihilated in Sector Z12. Their last transmission. It's here. The bridge went silent. The Jorvax were not weaklings. Their fleet was among the best in the galaxy. If something had destroyed them so effortlessly, it was worth investigating. A long-forgotten threat. The legend of the Phantom Dagger was known to few outside humanity's history. It was said to be a warship so advanced, so powerful, that it was deemed too dangerous for any fleet. It disappeared during the final war of the Sol Dominion, never to be seen again. Some claimed it was destroyed. Others believed it drifted in the abyss, its AI still awake, waiting for a purpose. And now, The whispers were growing louder. Entire fleets were vanishing in the void. No wreckage, no survivors. Drelf turned to his navigation officer. Set a course for Z-12. If this warship is real, I want to see it with my own eyes. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. They had heard the stories. If the Phantom Dagger truly existed, it was not a ship one simply encountered and lived to tell about it. A silent graveyard. The journey was long, filled with tension. As they neared Z-12, they found the remains of the Jorvax fleet, or rather, the lack of remains. The battlefield should have been littered with debris, escape pods, wreckage, something. Instead, space was eerily empty. This isn't natural, Vrogan muttered. Something cleaned this battlefield. Drelf nodded, or something erased it completely. Suddenly, the ship's sensors flared. An object, moving fast, heading straight toward them. A massive silhouette emerged from the void, dark against the backdrop of the stars. It was sleek, massive, unlike any ship they had ever seen. The Phantom Dagger. The legend lives. Before anyone could react, a transmission came through. A deep, artificial voice, cold and emotionless. Unauthorized vessel detected. Identify or be eliminated. The crew held their breath. The legend was no longer just a story. It was real, and it had just turned its sights on them. The moment the Phantom Dagger moved again, the galaxy noticed. At first, it was just a whisper among traders and smugglers. An old warship seen drifting through the void, its engines glowing with eerie blue light. Then, military scouts reported an unknown vessel moving at impossible speeds near the outer rim. Soon, governments, warlords, and mercenaries were all talking about the same thing. A ghost had returned. The Council's alarm. Deep within the Galactic Council's core world, Supreme Chancellor Varric sat in his private chamber, listening to the reports. His advisors, a collection of alien leaders from various factions, argued among themselves. The Phantom Dagger is just a myth, an Urdak senator scoffed. A tale humans spread to make themselves seem powerful. Then explain why a ship matching its exact description just erased a derelict battleship with a single shot, a reptilian Xivar official countered. The scans show technology we don't understand. If this truly is an ancient human warship, we have a serious problem. Varric sighed. Do we know who controls it? No, an intelligence officer replied. It appears to be acting on its own. That was even worse. A rogue warship with the firepower of an entire fleet, and it belonged to a species that no longer existed. We need to contain this, Varric said. Send a task force. Find out what this thing wants. Hunt it in the stars. Drelf sat in the Phantom Dagger's command chair, watching the incoming reports. Ever since the warship's display of power, half the galaxy seemed to be looking for them. We've got 3 different factions scanning for us, Vrogan muttered. And I think a bounty's been placed on the ship. Drelf smirked. Good. That means they're scared. The Phantom Dagger, however, was not concerned. It had been built for war, and war was exactly what it expected. Let them come. The warship's voice echoed through the bridge. I will teach them fear. Before Drelf could respond, an alarm blared. Incoming fleet, Vrogan reported. Council ships. They found us. Drelf's jaw tightened. What's their stance? Neutral, for now. On the screen, a transmission came through. A serious-looking alien commander appeared. This is Admiral Kelos of the Galactic Council. You are in possession of a highly dangerous warship. Stand down and prepare to be escorted to Council space. Drelf glanced at the Phantom Dagger's controls. He already knew what the warship's response would be. Admiral, Drelf said with a smirk, do you really think you can escort us anywhere? Before the Council ships could react, the Phantom Dagger vanished into the void. And the hunt truly began. The Phantom Dagger had vanished, slipping into the void like a shadow. The Galactic Council's fleet had been left chasing nothing but sensor echoes. Admiral Kalos stood on the bridge of his flagship, fists clenched as his officers scrambled to find the warship's trail. "How is this possible?" one of his lieutenants muttered. "That ship was right in front of us. We had it locked." Kalos exhaled sharply. "Because it's not just a ship. It's a ghost of war. And we just made the worst mistake imaginable. We tried to cage it. Hunted becomes hunter." While the council scrambled, Drelth and his crew were watching them. Inside the Phantom Dagger, the ship's ancient systems had already begun scanning the pursuing fleets. Every energy signature, every ship's weakness, every possible escape route, all mapped within seconds. "They think they're hunting us." Vrogan chuckled, watching the displays. "They have no idea what's coming." Drelth ran a hand over the cold metal of the warship's console. The Phantom Dagger was not a vessel meant to run forever. It was designed to fight. And now it had chosen a target. "Set course for the Council's central fleet," Drelth ordered. Vrogan blinked. "We're going straight for them." Drelth smirked. "No, we're going through them." The first strike. On the bridge of the Council's flagship, alarms blared. "Unknown vessel detected, right in the middle of our formation." Kalos' blood ran cold. "What? That's impossible." But then, on his main view screen, a single shape emerged from the void. The Phantom Dagger. Before the fleet could react, a beam of unnatural energy sliced through one of their cruisers, cutting it in half in an instant. No warning, no buildup, just destruction. "Open fire. Now," Kalos roared. The fleet unleashed everything they had. Asterisk lasers, missiles, railguns, asterisk, all weapons locked onto the ancient warship. But none of them connected. The Phantom Dagger moved with unnatural precision, slipping between the attacks like a specter. In response, it fired again. One shot, one kill. Another ship vanished in an explosion of fire and debris. Kalos watched in horror. "This isn't a battle," he whispered. "It's a slaughter. A message to the galaxy." The fight was over in minutes. Wreckage floated in the darkness. The few surviving ships limped away, their captains too terrified to do anything but flee. On every open frequency, a single message broadcasted. "To those who hunt ghosts, know this. Some legends are real, some nightmares wake, and some warships never die." The entire galaxy heard it. And for the first time in centuries, they feared the return of the Phantom Dagger. The Phantom Dagger floated silently in the wreckage of the ancient battlefield. Captain Drelth and his crew stared at the remains of war, twisted metal, shattered hulls, and debris from long-forgotten ships. The silence was eerie, as if the ghosts of the past still lingered. The warship's voice returned, this time softer, almost reflective. "They were my brothers. They fought. They died. And no one remembered." Drelth exchanged glances with his first officer, Vrogan. "This thing isn't just a warship," Vrogan muttered. "It thinks. It feels." Drelth nodded. The Phantom Dagger wasn't just another relic. It was something more. It had been left behind, abandoned by its creators, yet it had endured. "Why did you attack the fleets that came here?" Drelth asked carefully. The warship's lights flickered. "They came searching for power. They did not respect the fallen." Drelth exhaled. This wasn't just a battlefield. It was a graveyard. And the Phantom Dagger was its guardian. The echoes of war. The crew studied the wreckage. Scanners revealed something strange. Many of the destroyed ships weren't just human. There were remnants of alien vessels, some from species that still roamed the galaxy. Others were completely unknown. Vrogan frowned. This wasn't just a human battle. Drelth agreed. Something else happened here. The Phantom Dagger spoke again. There was an enemy, one that consumed everything. Humanity was the only species that stood against them. A chill ran through the crew. Who were they? For the first time, the Phantom Dagger hesitated. Then a projection appeared on their screens, an image of creatures unlike anything they had ever seen. shadowy figures with jagged forms, devouring entire ships in an instant. The Devourers. The last stand. The Phantom Dagger's voice turned grim. They came from beyond the known galaxy, a force that could not be reasoned with. Humanity did not run. They fought to the last soldier, to the last ship, and in the end, they vanished. The crew listened in stunned silence. This was history no one had ever heard. Humanity had fought a war that the rest of the galaxy had ignored or forgotten. Drelth clenched his fists. And you? What happened to you? The warship's lights pulsed. I was ordered to hold this position, to ensure the enemy never returned, but no one came back for me. Vrogan exhaled sharply. They left it to guard a battlefield, and it never stopped. Drelth took a deep breath. This warship, this legend, had been forgotten, but now it was awake again, and perhaps it still had a mission to complete. But what did it want now? A new purpose. Drelth straightened. If the Devourers were real, they might not be gone forever. The Phantom Dagger remained silent for a moment. Then its engines hummed, its massive frame shifting slightly. Then I will fight again. Drelth's heart pounded. This warship was more than just an old legend. It was a force of destruction, one that was ready to awaken once more. And if the galaxy wasn't prepared, the Phantom Dagger would make sure they were. The Phantom Dagger remained silent for a long moment. Captain Drelth and his crew held their breath, waiting for its response. The ancient warship, once thought to be nothing more than a myth, had just revealed a terrifying truth. Humanity had fought a war against an unknown enemy, and they had vanished afterward. Now, the warship faced a choice: remain in the graveyard of forgotten battles, or return to the galaxy once more. Finally, the deep mechanical voice echoed across the ship's comms. If the Devourers still exist, then my duty is not yet finished. Drelth exchanged glances with his first officer, Vrogan. The crew remained tense, unsure if this was a declaration of war or something else entirely. You're saying you want to fight again? Drelth asked cautiously. The Phantom Dagger's lights pulsed, as if considering the question. If humanity is gone, then someone must be ready when the enemy returns. Drelth exhaled. This was bigger than he had imagined. The warship wasn't just an old relic. It was a guardian, a force left behind for a war the rest of the galaxy had long forgotten. A test of strength. Vrogan leaned in. Captain, if this thing really wants to fight, we should test it. See if it's even capable of holding its own. Drelth nodded. Agreed. Phantom Dagger, would you be willing to prove your strength? The warship's engines rumbled. You doubt me? It's not doubt, Drelth replied. But legends often grow bigger than reality. If you truly are what they say, then show us. For a brief moment, there was silence. Then, without warning, the warship moved. In an instant, its ancient engines roared to life. The Phantom Dagger shot forward, faster than anything the crew had ever seen. A simulated target appeared in the distance, a derelict battleship from centuries ago. The Phantom Dagger's weapons locked onto it. Then, with a single blast, the target vanished. Not broken, not destroyed. Simply erased. The crew gasped. Even Drelth felt his heart pound. No modern weaponry could match that kind of destructive force. I think it just answered our question, Vrogan muttered. Drelth nodded. The warship was as powerful as the legends had claimed, maybe even more. The warning. The Phantom Dagger slowly returned, its engines quieting once more. You asked me to prove my strength. Now, let me ask you something. Drelth straightened. Go ahead. The enemy is patient. If they have not returned yet, they will. When they do, will your people be ready? Drelth didn't know how to answer. The galaxy had changed. Wars were fought with politics and technology, not ancient superweapons. If the Devourers were still out there. We don't know, he admitted. The Phantom Dagger's lights flickered. Then I will prepare for war. whether your people join me or not." A chill ran through the crew. This warship had waited centuries for a battle that might never come. And now it was ready to fight again, with or without them. Drulf took a deep breath. "Then let's make sure the galaxy knows what's coming." Because whether they liked it or not, the Phantom Dagger was awake again, and the universe would never be the same. The wreckage of the Galactic Council's fleet drifted silently in space, a grim reminder of the mistake they had made. The Phantom Dagger had vanished once more, slipping back into the void as if it had never been there. But the message it left behind echoed across the galaxy. The aftermath. Admiral Kalos stood on the ruined bridge of his flagship. The lights flickered, sparks falling from damaged consoles. His officers, those who had survived, whispered in hushed voices. We were supposed to be the most powerful fleet in the galaxy," one of them muttered. "And that thing tore through us like we were nothing." Kalos stared at the blackness beyond the viewport. "It wasn't just a ship," he said, voice hollow. "It was a relic of war, a ghost of a past we thought was gone. And now that ghost had returned. A galaxy in fear." The news of the battle spread faster than light. Every major faction, every empire, republic, and dominion received the same transmission. "The Phantom Dagger is awake. Let this be a warning. Leave it alone, or it will return." The Galactic Council held emergency meetings. The most powerful warlords and rulers of the galaxy debated their next move. Some wanted to hunt it down again, to send even more fleets. But those who had seen the destruction firsthand knew better. "We tried that," Kalos said in a broadcast to the council, "and we were torn apart." The message was clear: do not challenge the warship again. Back to the shadows. Deep in uncharted space, the Phantom Dagger drifted in silence. Inside, Drulf and his crew watched the reports flood in. The galaxy was terrified. No one dared to pursue them anymore. "We did it," Vrogan said, leaning back in his seat. "We proved a point." Drulf nodded. "Now we disappear." With a silent command, the Phantom Dagger activated its cloaking systems, fading into the darkness. It would wait, as it always had, for the next time it was needed. The legend would live on. The galaxy would remember, and the Phantom Dagger would never die.